Hey, what's up? How we doing? Jeez. Back at it again, a Krispy Kreme, my ladies and dudes and whatevers. I know I sound a little different. There are two reasons for that. One, my throat hurts. Two, I'm wearing a mask right now. That being said, the reason I'm wearing a mask right now is because I actually have my phone set up to record my reactions to this video, so hopefully from the stream I can create a pretty good, decent reaction YouTube video, or clips, or whatever I see fit, whatever happens in today's stream, I guess. Oh, what was that? Sorry, my phone did something weird. Goodness me. Anyways, welcome. Okay, I'm going to actually start my recording and do an intro just in a second. I will cut to screen. Oh god, you can see everything. Hey people, how's it going? You can see all my shit. Oh no! Okay. Let's get YouTube set up. Happy Pride Month, by the way, everybody. First day of the Pride Month. What is this? What is happening? I didn't press anything. Whoa. Whoa. I didn't press anything. What the hell was that? Jeebus. Okay. Alright, gonna start the thing now that I have my screen set up, everything ready. I'm gonna start my recording, and I'm gonna do an intro for whatever video I see fit, I guess. There we go. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Hopefully that syncs stuff up in editing. I will be the one editing, so hello, future me. Yep. Okay, that was a good smack. Sorry, I'm listening to the audio of the stream right now, and I was just waiting for the clap. Anyway. Hello. It is I, Fallen Sketch. And look at this stuff. Not necessarily my face, as you could tell, but it's me. And I haven't done this since the Vermont vlog that I posted, like, years ago. Like, how many years ago was that, actually? I don't know. Anyway, hello. My name is Fallen Sketch. It is I. And I'm just gonna react to stuff. Hope you enjoy, I guess. Alright, let's get started. I need to... What is this?
You failed to vaccine. You feel the need to mark your territory.
Oh, it's this clip.
Whoa. Whoa. Sudden urge.
Alright, okay, that's enough of that. I've seen that clip already. That was so loud. Apologies, there's gonna be an echo. I can't do anything about that right now, but there's gonna be an echo with the videos, and I apologize. There's literally nothing I can do about it right now. I have tried, but just deal with it. I know it's annoying. It's annoying to me. Okay. I I have me talking in my ear right now. I have my iPad right here, right next to me, with the stream pulled up because I don't have two monitors. I have one. I kid you not, I have one monitor. And that is what I have so far. I am looking to get a second monitor though. But at the moment I only have the one. So I have my iPad set up as kind of like my second monitor to make sure the stream's going well. And I have my Bluetooth earbud in so I can listen to make sure my microphone's good, because the last stream my microphone kept shutting off during the stream. So there were a decent amount of points of that last stream that no one could fucking hear a thing I was saying. Okay. It's annoying. So and I'm not used to having me chattering in my ear. So if I go silent, it's because my brain is just trying to comprehend what I'm saying, because I'm thinking and talking and listening to myself at the same time. It is just... Oh. What earbuds, you ask? My glorious Raycon Everyday Earbuds. Beautiful earbuds. Not sponsored, by the way. I want to clarify this, that I am not sponsored. But damn, are these Raycons pretty good. I like Raycon. These earbuds are so worth the price, to be honest. So fucking worth it. Alright, let's find something to watch, shall we? I keep talking, and I shouldn't. The Island Boys. No, too long, I think. Trying to find stuff. What is that YouTube channel? There we go. There's a hair touching me on my shirt. Okay. Zesty. Oh, these are like an hour long. Don't really want to watch something that's about an hour long. No offense. Shit. This is gonna suck. I probably should have had like a couple of videos ready. Let's do this one. 5 disturbing recordings left by missing persons. Let's do that.
On July 29, 2008, a mother of two named Susan Powell recorded a video where she documented the assets in her home in Utah, just in case, in her own words, something happened to her.
Alright, here we go, boys and girls and whatevers.
This is me. July 29th,
I feel like I've
2008.
seen this one.
It's 12:33 Mountain Time. Covering all my bases, making sure that if something happens to me or my family or all of us, that our assets are documented. Hope everything works out and we're all happy and live happily ever after as much as that's possible.
The
Yeah, I
video
think I've
was
seen
made
this
on her
one.
attorney's
Like,
advice,
this
who feared that
specific
Susan's
one.
husband Josh might attempt to sell some of her most expensive assets.
Ew.
In the years leading up to the
Who is
now
that
infamous
thumb?
video
Like, what the-
recording, the couple's marriage had been under a lot of strain, and during the recording, Susan
Probably looks like a
let on
thumb.
that things had been everything but peaceful between her and Josh over the past few years.
This is all stuff bought in a year or less through Home Depot on my credit. Josh bought a lot of stuff and then he had to bankrupt it. And then he bought a little bit more on my credit. There's a nice lamp. These are things to roll wood with. And I have necklaces too. All those are underage, as you can see. And broke this.
And this.
There's studs and pearls and opals in there. Broke this and threw all my DVDs and made a mess. Because he was going to rip me up about a year or two back.
Although Susan had been seen at
The way she said that
the
casually.
possibility of leaving her husband, they were still living together in 2009, almost a year and a half after the video was recorded. On the morning of December 6th of that year, Susan went to church with her two boys, after which a neighbor went to visit her, leaving her house at about 5 p.m. That night, Josh allegedly took the couple's two boys, Charlie and Braden Powell, on a camping trip in the middle of the night in blizzard conditions to a campsite on the Pony Express Trail. According to Josh,
Yeah,
Susan
that's
stayed
not
home because she
suspicious.
was tired. The story goes that the next day, Susan's family and friends reported her missing when her two boys weren't dropped off at daycare. When Josh came back from the supposed camping trip with his sons, he said that when he had left the previous evening, his wife had been sleeping peacefully at home and that he had no idea what could have happened to her. After
Lies.
searching the couple's
All
house and
lies.
police
You know
found
exactly what happened.
things continued to get stranger as the investigation continued. Inside Susan's safe deposit box at the bank where she worked, the cops found a handwritten will and testament in which Susan alleged that Josh had taken out a $1 million life insurance policy on her a few weeks prior. Disturbingly, she also wrote, "If I die, it may not be an accident." About 10 days after she mysteriously disappeared, the authorities also found that Josh had filed paperwork to withdraw money from a retirement account, and he was officially declared a person of interest in the case. Suspiciously, Susan's family and friends reported
Why does he look like an older version of someone I went to school with? That's weird. That's just really weird.
The mountain of evidence
To me.
Josh Powell was never formally charged in his wife's disappearance. During the investigation, the cops questioned the couple's two sons, but it was hard to get any solid information out of them on account of their age.
What?
Even though they mentioned that Josh had taken Susan with them on their camping trip on the night of the disappearance, they also made outlandish claims, including allegations that they had arrived at the campsite by airplane. This made it impossible to use their statements as evidence that Josh was responsible for his wife's disappearance. Shortly after, Josh and his two sons moved back to their home state of Washington, but the authorities soon determined it wasn't safe for Braden and Charlie to be living with their father in the middle of the investigation, and Josh lost custody of the boys. This is where things get extremely disturbing. On February 5th, 2012, more than 2 years after Susan's disappearance, a state caseworker brought the two boys to Josh's house for what was supposed to be a supervised visit. Immediately upon their arrival, Josh locked the social worker out of the house and took the lives of both his children and himself by setting the house on fire with gasoline.
What the
If his behavior during
fuck?
the initial phases of the investigation was
I forgot that
suspicious,
happened.
the unspeakable crimes Josh committed on that day in 2012
What?
were about as clear of an admission of guilt as you can get in a case like this. In the aftermath of the tragic incident,
Fucking
the cops
idiot.
started looking into
Fucking
Josh's
pussy.
brother and father, who they suspected
Fucking
knew
evil
more about
piece
the
of shit.
case than they were letting
What the
on.
fuck?
Even though they had solid evidence to suggest
That's just, you're a piece of shit, burn in hell.
Michael, Josh's brother, had helped him conceal Susan's body, the case reached a
The brother had some, wait, hold on, I have to go back.
dead end when Michael also took Josh committed on that day in 2012 were about as clear of an admission of guilt as you can get in a case like this. In the aftermath of the tragic incident, the cops started looking into Josh's brother and father, who they suspected knew more about the case than they were letting on. Even though they had solid evidence to suggest Michael, Josh's brother, had helped him conceal Susan's body, the case reached a dead end when Michael also took his own life in 2013. More than a decade later, Susan filed a lawsuit against Washington State for nearly $100 million on grounds of
fucking
negligence
pussies.
and failure
Oh,
to
God.
protect two children who were supposed to be in the state's custody, a big chunk of which he gave to a charity to support domestic violence survivors. Almost
Those
15
poor
years
kids,
after her
dude.
disappearance and murder of her two children, people still gather in Susan's hometown of Puyallup, Washington every year to pay their respects and honor her memory. The last video Susan made documenting her assets received a lot more attention after everything had happened. With hindsight, the video is portrayed in a much more disturbing light.
Fucking hell.
Susan saying things like, "I'm recording this just in case anything happens," makes you wonder if she knew her husband could do something this horrible as she was filming. Over the years, Susan's father has been alerted of
She's had to have known that something bad would happen to her. She was documenting everything. She literally wrote a hand will and testament and put it in her safety deposit box in her bank. She had to have known something bad was going to happen to her. Like, let's be real.
Daughter's remains might be buried, including abandoned mines in Utah and other isolated locations. Sadly, every lead has turned out to be a false alarm, and it's very unlikely that Susan's remains will ever be found.
Fuck, dude. I keep hitting my mic.
Amber Tucaro was a 20-year-old Canadian First Nations woman from Fort McMurray, Alberta. In August
Oh.
of 2012, she flew from
I think I
Alberta
knew
to
this one too.
Edmonton
I think I know this one too,
International Airport and
actually.
booked a hotel room with her 1-year-old son and a female friend for a short vacation. That night, she got excited about the trip and decided to hitchhike into the city by herself, after which she was never seen again.
Drinking Sprite out of a Freddy Fazbear's cup.
Her friend called her mother, who immediately called the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. Soon after, Amber was declared a missing person. The authorities dug
Wasn't
into
she
her
like a
phone
native?
records and found that she had received a phone call while she was in the company
Like a
of
Native
an unidentified
American
man. The recording
Canadian?
is pretty unsettling, especially since it marks the last time she was ever heard alive.
Where are we by? We're just heading south of Beaumont, or north of Beaumont.
Oh, she hitchhiked, I think. Right? Did she?
Yo, where are we going? No, that's not. Are you kidding me? You better not be taking me anywhere I don't want to go. I want to go into the city. Kidding. Yo, we're not going in the city, are we? No, we're not. So where are these roads going to? 50th Street. 50th Street. Are you sure? Absolutely. Yo, where are we going? 50th Street. 50th Street. 50th Street. East, right? East. Over now.
In the
Okay.
recording, a male driver can be heard reassuring Amber that they're heading where she wants to go, but she doesn't seem to be buying this.
He's reassuring her, but with an annoyed tone. That dude's like annoyed as
But they didn't
fuck.
officially start investigating the disappearance until well after a month after Amber was reported missing. Sadly, when Amber's mother pressured the cops to do something and help her find their daughter, they dismissed her and told her that Amber was probably just out partying and would turn up soon. Tragically, on September 1st,
Cops.
2012, just 4 days after the audio from the eerie conversation was released, the remains of Amber's body were found on a rural property near Leduc County by a group of horseback riders. One of the most frustrating aspects of this case is how unprofessionally the disappearance was handled by the Canadian police.
Yeah.
After just 1 month of searching, Amber was taken off the missing persons list based on a series of suspicious, unconfirmed, and anonymous sightings in Edmonton, and it took her mother an entire month to get her back on the list. By the time
What?
she was put back
That could
on
just
the
happen?
list were the negligent cops who made the
I'm sorry, you could just take someone off the missing persons list if there have been, not proven sightings of the missing person? That's so stupid. That's genuinely so stupid. Like, you have to confirm the sightings, and if the sightings are in fact confirmed, then maybe investigate those claims, and if you manage to find her, then you fucking take her off. Either you find her alive or you find her dead, and those should be the reasons why you take them off the list. Or they just been gone for like a really, really, really long time. I don't know.
Unforgivable mistake, her property, which could have been used as evidence, had already been accidentally destroyed after it was recovered from her hotel. Over the years, a few women have come forward claiming to know the identity of the man in the recording, with all of them accusing the same man. The authorities say they've looked into him, but he wasn't declared a person of interest. A few years ago, another man came forward and claimed that the man in the recording was his father, an American citizen with no legal standing in Canada who had been living on a ranch in
An illegal American and living in Canada. Yep.
Greater Edmonton area. If the man's testimony is to be believed, his father is also responsible for several other mysterious disappearances and deaths that have taken place in the area over the last few years. One of the most disturbing aspects in the recording is the audible dishonesty in the man's voice, which is pretty much clear as day when Amber asks if he's sure they're going into the city, and he responds with an extremely fake, absolutely. It's also pretty messed up how the cops handled the case from start to finish, and many people suspect the cause of the unprofessional management of the case was just straight up racism against the Indigenous woman.
I knew it. She was Indigenous. I hate people. I hate people. A person's a person, alright? No matter what. Like, come on.
Hopefully we'll someday have an explanation for what happened that night to Amber Tucaro, but for now the case remains a pretty disturbing mystery. In late 2014, a YouTuber named Kenny Veach commented under the username SnakeBitMcGee on a video titled Area 51 Technician's Son Discloses Secret Alternative Energy. The comment read,
What?
"That ain't nothing. I'm a long-distance hiker. One time during one of my hikes out by Nellis Air Force Base, I found a hidden cave. The entrance to the cave was shaped like a perfect capital.
Oh!
I always enter
I know
every
about
cave
this.
I find, but as I began to
I just,
enter this
apparently I know like every single
particular
case that's been happening in this fucking video.
the closer I got to the cave
Refresher, I
entrance, the more
guess.
vibrant it became.
God.
Suddenly I became very scared and hightailed it out of there. That was one of the strangest things that ever happened to me. As you can imagine, Kenny's comment immediately caught a lot of people's attention. Some people called Kenny a liar, while others encouraged him to find the cave again and record his findings. And so he agreed to do just that. On October 18th,
The internet being the
Kenny
internet.
uploaded a video of his long-distance hike in the Nevada desert in which he attempted to find the
Yeah,
cave for
that
a second
site
time.
looks familiar. He disappeared. He teleported. Oh shit, there he is.
Well, here I am on my hike up here in the mountains north of Las Vegas. This is a canyon I just walked up in. And you can't tell, but my truck is way out there by the mountains at the very, very end of this mountain.
At the beginning of the video, Kenny stands at the top
Your
of
truck
the
being
abandoned
all the way
shaft
at the...
and gives his
Wow.
viewers an introduction into the monstrous hike that lies ahead of him that day. As the day goes on, he continues to record what he sees as he travels through the Mojave Desert trying to locate the cave again.
There's some interesting stuff coming up here. Look, see those? Look at that. Kinda. Right there. That's kinda cool. Alright, I'm gonna turn it off and then I'll turn it back on here. Look at that, that's pretty cool right there. Huh.
Zoom!
Alright.
I don't know why I did that one in my head. You guys can't see in the recording, but I just did
That
something
was the end of the
goofy.
video Kenny posted. Because he failed to find the cave the second time through, a lot of his viewers criticized him pretty brutally, calling him a fraud and pressuring him into trying to find the cave for a third time. In a sea of comments provoking Kenny, a user named Lemmy Kilmister made a particularly disturbing and ominous comment that read, "No, do not go back there. If you find that cave entrance, don't go in. You won't get out." Still, on November 10th of that year, Kenny told his family he was going on an overnight hiking trip, and he set off by himself.
Buddy, do you know something that we don't? Like... What? What? Either you're trolling or you know something we don't.
For the third time to find the mysterious M cave in the Mojave Desert, one of the hottest and driest regions in the world. That was the last time he was ever seen. On November 22nd, 2014, 12 days after he set off on his search for the M Cave, a group of search and rescue volunteers found Kenny's phone lying at the top of the same mine shaft he had pointed out in his M Cave video.
Weird.
Unfortunately, after his phone was located, the case went cold, and Kenny's body was never found. After the mysterious disappearance, people started coming up with all sorts of theories to explain what could have happened to Kenny, with most people claiming that he had either fallen down the abandoned mine shaft or died of overexposure. Some of the more
If he had fallen down the mine shaft, people would have tried to go down there to look for him during the search, wouldn't they? Wouldn't they? Also, it's a wide desert. There's not much to hide behind. So, it's strange to me, right? Either I sound really stupid or I sound pretty smart. I don't know.
outlandish theories reported that Kenny could have witnessed a crime out in the middle of the desert and had to be silenced, or that he found a secret military base and was eliminated by the government. However, a few months after his disappearance, a comment on the original video made by a woman named Sharon Pilgrim shed light on an entirely new possibility, that Kenny had taken his own life. The comment read, "I am the girlfriend that Kenny spoke of in the video. Kenny has not been found, and I feel that he probably will not be found for many, many months, if ever. I want you to know that I do not think Kenny had an accident. I believe he took his life. He battled..."
I'm sorry, but if he took his life, how come nobody can find his body? If he committed the self-die, his body would have been found. Why isn't his body found if he unalived himself? There's something really weird about this one. Genuinely, just really weird.
Battled with depression for many years and would not take medication or see a doctor. He quit his job a little more than a year before he disappeared. In response to his phone being found in the mine shaft, Sharon then added, "The mine shaft was about a 4-hour hike from his car. It is my feeling that he left it behind so that he could not be tracked from the GPS in it. He also did not take his video camera with him on his solo hike. It was left in his home, so he had no intention of filming anything. I am healing from my loss and look forward to new experiences with desert hiking, camping, and taking beautiful pictures of our desert. Enjoy your adventures of life, and thank you for the kind, loving comments sent my way." Even though the woman's comment seems pretty genuine and brings light to the very real possibility that Kenny took his own life, the case still doesn't have a solid conclusion. Over the years, several other YouTubers have found caves in the same area Kenny was hiking in that almost perfectly resemble the letter M, and recently one of them even had a danger restricted area sign put up next to his entrance. So, even though it's possible that Kenny took his own life in the desert, his disappearance has still left more questions than answers.
Screw time travel to be in like a really cool time period. If I had time travel, I would go and witness disappearances just to see what the fuck happened to people. Genuinely. Like, who would use time travel to just be like, oh my god, I'm gonna go to the Renaissance? Like, I would try and go and see what the fuck happened to these missing people. Like, their loved ones need answers. I feel like that's more important than enjoying yourself in a time period.
On September 8th, 2015, a man named Tim from Mounds View, Minnesota contacted the police and told them his friend, 32-year-old Henry McCabe, a Liberian immigrant and auditor for the Department of Revenue, had gone missing. As per Tim's testimony, Henry had been at a barbecue hosted by a friend named Emmanuel earlier that day, and had left to go to a nightclub at around 11 p.m. After following up with the two acquaintances who had been with Henry at the club on the night of the disappearance, the cops realized they had a pretty complicated case on their hands. According to the two friends who had been with Henry at the Saint Louis nightclub in Spring Lake that night, Henry had been drinking pretty heavily, and upon leaving the club at around 2 a.m., he allegedly asked William, one of the acquaintances he was with, to drop him off at a gas station nearby. After getting dropped off by William, who thought it was strange that Henry rejected his offer to drop him off at his house instead of a random gas station, Henry called his wife a little after 2:20 a.m. According to his wife, Henry sounded pretty delirious on the call, and near the end of the conversation, she called one of Henry's friends to ask him to go get her husband. Even though the friend didn't answer the call, the last 2 minutes of the conversation between Henry and his wife were recorded by the friend's voicemail, and the content of the conversation is pretty disturbing.
can't understand shit. What the hell am I hearing?
It's almost impossible to make out any of the words in the audio, and the combination of growls, moans, and screams makes it hard to know what to even make of the recording.
My brother in
Needless to
Christ,
say,
are you
most of
okay?
it's pretty unsettling. It almost sounds like the screams are coming from someone who's being attacked, but we obviously can't know for sure. That same evening, another acquaintance called Henry and later told police that it sounded as though Henry had gotten into an altercation with someone in the middle of the call. Strangely, even though Corinne McCabe, Henry's wife, mentioned that the sounds her husband was making during the call were extremely out of character for him, who was usually perfectly articulate, she only made a single call to one of Henry's friends to try and get him to pick up her husband, and when she didn't get a response, she went right back to bed. Even more strangely, during her questioning, Corinne repeatedly told the cops that she knew Henry was alive, even though she didn't have the evidence to prove it directly. After this extremely disturbing voice was recorded, Henry's phone records show that he called a Texas number that he had called over 20 times that day, but when the cops tried to trace the number, it came up as no longer in service. It's impossible to know if the calls themselves were made by Henry or someone else, when after the unsettling conversation with his wife, phone records show that several calls were made from Henry's phone to that same now disconnected number in the days following his disappearance. As the investigation went on, things continued to get stranger. Suspiciously, the cops never found footage of William's red car pulling up to the gas station where he had supposedly dropped Henry off, even though they checked the entire night's footage from all angles. William later ended up changing his story and alleged that as soon as he dropped Henry off, he immediately got back in the car and William dropped him off at another gas station a couple of miles away. It was later revealed by a confidential FBI informant that during the searches that took place after the disappearance, Manuel, the host of the barbecue, and a group of 3 other men would often stand a few feet away from the rest of the search party and talk suspiciously among themselves. Still, it was never determined if they had anything to do with the disappearance. On October 2nd, almost a month after Henry went missing, a strange anonymous letter was sent to the New Brighton Police Department a few miles from where Henry went missing. The letter read, "Henry McCabe, his body next to water, partially buried. Needs search dog to find. Witness who saw burial scared, female young. Asked to come forward. Can remain anonymous and will protect." On November 2nd, the cops found Henry's body in Rush Lake, a few miles from where Henry had supposedly been dropped off on the night of his disappearance. Mysteriously, they didn't find any signs of foul play on his body, even though the anonymous letter suggests he was buried by someone else. Despite the lack of evidence on his body, it's possible that he was either forcibly drowned by a group of assailants, that he took his own life, or that something entirely different took place that night. The only thing we know for sure is that this is an extremely strange case that will probably never get a conclusive explanation.
That's just weird.
In the summer of 2013, a 26-year-old oil worker from Texas named Brandon Lawson arrived home from work and immediately got into an argument with his long-term girlfriend. Things had been pretty tense between the couple in the days leading up to that evening, as Brandon had frequently been working Monday through Sunday, and the youngest of the couple's 2 children was only a few months old.
Oh no.
Also, Brandon had recently relapsed into addiction, which further strained their relationship.
Oh no.
It's unclear if his girlfriend kicked him out of the house, or if
Oh
he
no,
decided to leave
man.
after about an hour of arguing. But whatever the case, Brandon got in his silver Ford F-150 and drove away from his home in San Angelo at midnight on August 8th.
Have you ever been beaten by a wet spaghetti noodle?
The incredibly strange events that took place over the next few hours have turned this case into one of the most mysterious and disturbing disappearances of the decade. About half an hour after leaving his house, Brandon made a phone call to his brother Kyle, letting him know that he was a few miles south of Braun on a stretch of highway in the middle of nowhere, and that he was out of gas. After fetching a gas can for Brandon's house, which was about a mile away from his own, Kyle got into his car and prepared to drive to his brother's location. But things didn't exactly go according to plan for Brandon, and a few minutes later, at around 12:50 a.m., he made this disturbing call to 911.
No emergency. Yes, I'm in the middle of the field. In fact, we're just pushing guys over. Right here, going for guys went on both sides.
What? Huh?
You ran into him, okay. Shut the fuck off. Do you need an ambulance? No, I need to call. Okay. Is anybody hurt? Hello? Hello? Hello?
Although it's hard to make out what's going on in the background, many people have alleged that they can hear the sound of gunshots and other people talking in the audio, but it's hard to confirm what exactly was being said and what was even going on during
Can we get the B-roll of the haunted forest out of the way? Thank you.
To inform that a silver F-150 had been parked pretty dangerously on the highway with the back of the truck sticking out into the other lane. Following his call to 911, Brandon continued to contact his brother Kyle by phone, and they exchanged a series of strange phone calls. Even though these next calls weren't recorded, according to Kyle, Brandon sounded extremely paranoid, repeatedly claiming that he was being chased out of town by the Mexicans in the neighborhood. When Kyle asked him if he had been using drugs again, Brandon immediately denied it. At around 1:10 a.m., Kyle arrived at the location where the truck was parked, but Brandon was nowhere to be seen. A few minutes after his brother's arrival, Brandon once again called Kyle and made a series of disturbing statements, claiming that he could see Kyle and the officer that had just arrived at the scene, that he was bleeding, and that they needed to hurry. Disturbingly, he was nowhere in sight. For the next few minutes, Kyle continued to try to get in touch with Brandon, but all his
There we go. Fuck, I knew I was gonna do it. Sooner or later. Sometime sooner or later, I guess. Sorry, people.
calls went straight to voicemail. After failing to find him that night, the cops launched an official search for Brandon, complete with helicopters, thermal cameras, dogs, and a massive search party. Unfortunately, Brandon was nowhere to be found. It was later revealed that Brandon had cashed out his 401k on the night of his disappearance, suggesting he might have vanished on his own accord. However, due to his distressed phone calls to 911 and his brother, it's also possible that Brandon fell victim to some sort of cartel activity, or that someone he ran into on the road attacked him. In February 2022, a small search party consisting of family members and friends found a pair of shoes and clothing that matched the description of what Brandon was wearing on the night of his disappearance. And after searching the area, the cops found human remains near the location of the shoes and clothing. Even though the remains were sent to be tested more than 2 years ago, there still hasn't been a definitive answer for whether they belong to Brandon or what could have happened to him that night. Hopefully, with time, more conclusive answers will surface to give Brandon's family a sense of much-needed closure. Until then, this will probably remain as one of the most disturbing missing persons cases from recent years.
Well, okay then. What the fuck? Weird. Just weird. Sorry, you don't get to see my beautiful face while I'm drinking. Camera. Fucking got this at Walmart. Like, what the fuck? It's a nice tumbler, too. Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, where you can hold all of your beverage needs. This is a start, guys. Let's go. The poor stream doesn't know what's going on right now because the camera isn't hooked up to the stream or anything. It's just me recording a video on my phone at the moment. Let's watch this one. 10 disturbing internet rabbit holes explained.
1-800-GOLF-TIP. Back in the early 90s, a mysterious phone number started popping up on billboards and newspaper ads across North America. It was a vanity number that
Jesus.
spelled out 1-800-GOLF-TIP. Seeing this, most people assumed that it was an innocent golf tips helpline or something of the sort. However, that couldn't have been further from the truth.
Sounds like
When
it.
someone did call the number, they were greeted by the sound of a person breathing into his microphone. This was then quickly followed by the same person counting off numbers 1 through 10 in an Indian or Middle Eastern accent over and over again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This sequence kept repeating for minutes on end, leaving many people confused and prompting them to hang up.
I would be confused as fuck, not gonna lie.
However, this counting didn't last forever. People discovered that after about 10 to 12 minutes, the voice faded into silence and was replaced by static noise.
I'm sorry, I'm a little young. I'm a bit young. I'm a youngin'.
Them to hang up.
But,
However, this counting didn't last forever.
is that how you... This is gonna be a dumb moment on my part, but is that how you held the cell phones? With the outside like that? Instead of the other way around? I'm having such a dumb moment. Like, maybe this is how they used to be, but it's just weird to see considering I'm so used to the opposite.
People discovered that after about 10 to 12 minutes, the voice faded into silence and was replaced by static noise. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. But that wasn't all, because the ones who kept on listening were eventually startled by a loud and unsettling siren sound.
It just sounds like someone toying with like a, what are those called? Like a theremin? Or it's just like...
Not only was this extremely creepy, it also left the listener with many unanswered questions, like what was the purpose of this strange counting? And why would anyone pay money to advertise this number in the first place? Over the next few years, the 1-800-GOLF-TIP number became a modern folktale of sorts. People heard about it through word of mouth, dialed it out of curiosity, and were all met with the same eerie voice. This phenomenon was widespread enough to become one of the earliest internet rabbit holes, as I found mentions of the number dating as far back as 2003.
Nugget.
However, the complete lack of information gave rise to a flood of theories attempting to explain the mystery, including one which speculated if 1-800-GOLF-TIP had something to do with number stations, which, for those who don't know, are shortwave radio broadcasts of unknown origin. These usually transmit sequences of spoken numbers, tones, or coded messages, often in eerie, mechanical voices. Many believe they're used by governments to send encrypted instructions to spies in the field. So, according to this theory, the 1-800-GOLF-TIP number served a similar purpose. Another theory that many came up with was that this number was a part of a marketing campaign, probably to gather working phone numbers for telemarketing later or as a social experiment to generate hype for an upcoming product. However, none of these theories hold up to scrutiny. For starters, if number stations are indeed used to transmit instructions to spies, their entire purpose is to deliver messages anonymously, leaving no trace of who received them. A purpose that's negated completely if the receiver had to call a phone number that could potentially be traced back to them. On the other hand, the marketing and number collection theories don't hold much weight either.
The yellow pages.
There are far more effective ways to achieve both goals without depending
I may
on
be
an
young, but I've
unlikely
seen
chance
them.
of the number
I
spreading
actually
through
have
word of mouth and attracting calls
a
from
phone
curious
book
people.
in my
Ultimately,
drunk
despite many
drawer in
attempts
my
at
kitchen.
uncovering the truth, 1-800-GOLF-TIP remained a mystery for nearly 3 decades. That is, until a Reddit user took it upon himself to get to the bottom of it. He spent over 4 years combing through the available leads and gathering
Do you remember the
personal anecdotes from
90s?
people who remembered calling this number in their childhood. And as it
Oh,
turns
yes,
out,
do
the
you remember the
1-800 golf
90s?
tip rabbit hole wasn't
I
a
don't. I
viral
wasn't alive
hoax or
then,
a
but
disturbing
do you remember the
conspiracy.
90s?
Instead, it was the result of a simple mistake. You see, back in 1994, the Professional Golfers Association, or PGA, was touring across North America. And in an effort to promote the sport, they set up billboards and purchased ad space in newspapers, listing their golf tip line 1-800-GOLF-TIP. However, this line was only meant to be active for 2 days, as evident from this 1994 ad in the Tampa Tribune, which reads, "Golfers nationwide can receive golf tips today and Sunday via a toll-free instruction hotline presented by the PGA of America
Back when you had to pay to call.
and USA Today." The hotline, featuring nearly 100 PGA members, is being offered in conjunction for the Tommy Armour PGA Teaching and Coaching Summit in New Orleans. Call 800-GOLF-TIP. Following the campaign, billboards in low-traffic areas that never received the new ad ended up staying up far longer than intended. However, by then, the tip line was replaced by a placeholder test message from the phone company. As for the disturbing siren sound at the end, it was just one of the many pre-recorded tones phone companies used to signal that the call hadn't reached its intended destination. In the end, 1-800-GOLF-TIP wasn't a covert spy line or a clever marketing ploy. It was simply the byproduct of a phone company forgetting to disconnect a test number. And while the truth isn't as thrilling as some might have hoped, it brought closure to those who spent
guess that
nearly
does make
30
sense,
years
though.
chasing the mystery. User 927. On August 4th, 2006, AOL, which was an early search engine like Google,
Oh my god,
released a text
AOL.
file on its website containing 20 million search queries from its users. These queries were collected from over 650,000
Queries?
users
I got some
and spanned a period
queries.
of about 3 months. Whether this release was intentional or simply a private file mistakenly made public remains unclear. The users' actual names were replaced with anonymous filler numbers starting at 1, so like user 34 or user 152, but based solely on each user's searches, you could usually still find out a lot about them. The company did apologize and remove the file 3 days later, but it was already too late. Thousands of people had already copied the file and began combing through it out of curiosity. And while most of the searches were exactly what you'd expect, like users looking for restaurant recommendations, planning vacations, or searching for medical symptoms, user 927's search history stood out from the rest for just how shockingly disturbing it was. It started off quite normal, with user 927 looking up songs from various artists. There were also some medical queries, such as the time it takes for a broken leg to heal and fungal infections, as well as numerous searches on different types of flowers. But it didn't take long for user 927's searches to shift into the realm of deeply inappropriate and not safe for work. Now, due to the explicit nature of these searches, I can't share them on YouTube, but just note that many of them were deeply unsettling and painted a troubling picture of the user behind them. However, this was only the beginning. As the weeks went on,
How am I
user
supposed to know
927's
if you don't
searches
tell
grew
me?
darker, more specific, and far more disturbing. It went from looking up questionable stuff to searching for straight up illegal and harmful material. The unsettling nature of user 927's search history sparked widespread discussion and concern across the internet, even inspiring an off-Broadway play which delved into themes of cyberstalking, privacy, and the implications of our digital footprints. Despite their infamy, however, user 927 was never identified. All we know is that they were likely from Colorado, based on a single search from the state's official government website. It's also likely that these searches were made on a shared family computer, since they often flip-flopped between wholesome searches and illegal not safe for work searches. Apart from that, the identity of user 927 remains a mystery to this day.
But this is Rabbit Holes
Google
Explained. Why are
Translate
you...
anomaly.
This is Rabbit Holes Explained. Rabbit Holes Explained! That wasn't explained to me at all. Not at all. It's still left a mystery.
Near the end of 2017,
Disappointed.
a few users on 4chan noticed a bizarre phenomenon with Google Translate, where typing in incoherent and broken strings of characters led to eerily normal-sounding responses. For instance, typing the letter
Google
O and P
Translate.
repeatedly resulted in Google Translate telling the user to click on the image to view more. Similarly, using P and S instead produced something that resembled a snippet from an email. Now, it would have been easy to write it off as a coincidence, just random characters accidentally forming something familiar, but as more people tested it, the more weirdly consistent the outputs became. like the Translate app telling the user to go ahead and ask any questions they might have, or in some instances, telling them that they have a chronic disease.
Here, type in this bunch of mumble jumble, and I'll tell you something. You have a chronic illness.
Tendency to be infected with the virus, and they would have a lot of pain. How could a nonsensical mix of characters produce such specific and sometimes threatening translations? At this point, the most reasonable explanation was that this was simply a glitch, perhaps an obscure bug in Google's translate system. After all, most of these eerie translations occurred specifically when converting between Somali.
That just reminded me of the
and English,
thing from SpongeBob.
suggesting a potential flaw in how the algorithm handled that language pair. But what made this seem unlikely
Let me
was
guess,
the
is
amount
it
of
early
unique information
Google Translate?
was showing in response to these requests, including things like a link to a Facebook post or what appeared to be an email address. In a similar vein, a few specific combinations also provided results that read like a private conversation between two people, stating things like, "You will be given the opportunity to be re-elected," and "This is a great way for you to come to our country." So, what is going on here? Unfortunately, despite the online interest, Google never acknowledged the problem, so we can only speculate. And while I did come across some wild theories suggesting that Google Translate was somehow a sentient AI trying to communicate outside of its intended purpose, these theories are of course not true. One possible theory is that this was the work of a rogue Google employee, someone who, out of frustration or boredom, decided to tamper with the system. Maybe they were trying to degrade the app's quality out of spite, or perhaps they simply wanted to leave behind a hidden Easter egg for others to discover. However, someone risking their lucrative career at Google for something this uneventful and niche is fairly hard to justify. From everything I've seen, the most plausible explanation—
Dog. Doomsday clock is 3 minutes at 12. We are experiencing characters and dramatic developments in the world, which indicate that we are increasingly approaching the end times and Jesus's return.
is still the one mentioned earlier, that all of this was just a glitch or an overlooked bug in the system. As for the oddly specific bits of information, those could have come from any number of internal sources. Consider this: massive platforms like Gmail, Google Drive, and Search process billions of data points every day. So it's not hard to imagine a coding error causing Google Translate to inadvertently pull fragments from those interconnected services, which, if true, would be a real security and privacy threat. That said, I tried replicating the troubling prompts myself and came up empty. Whatever was causing the bizarre outputs seems to have been quietly patched out by Google since the story first broke out.
Well, it had to, right? I mean, that looked like it must have been older Google Translate.
Ted the Caver. On March 23, 2001, a man named Ted began
Damn! That's cool. Look at that shit. That must be slippery as fuck.
sharing his caving experience in an online journal. The story started a few months earlier in December 30th, 2000.
I've been in like a few touristy, safe caves. They're actually really cool. Really cool. Like I said, safe touristy ones. None that like you would have to gear up and like climb and fit through small spaces to, you know, just to go through a cave. No, it was like a touristy, big open cave area.
When Ted and his friend B were exploring a cave they thought they knew well. But on this
I don't like that.
trip,
I don't like that he said that they thought they knew well. Clearly they don't.
they found something unexpected. A small hole on a wall near the cave's lowest point. As Ted kneeled down to get a closer look inside, he felt a faint breeze coming from the hole, suggesting there might be an entire unexplored cave
Why is there
system
just a
lying
glove?
behind the narrow opening. The excitement of being the first
What is
people
that?
to explore this new section of the cave.
What the fuck? Guys, that is the earliest form of those fucking cave explorer memes where all you see are the fucking shoes.
Just beyond the narrow opening. The excitement of being the first people to explore this new section of the cave outweighed the inherent danger of venturing into the unknown.
People being stupid.
After surveying the area, Ted and B decided to widen the hole and carve out a passable corridor. About a month later, on the 27th of January, they began to chisel at the rock. But something felt strange. The two felt a suspiciously strong wind coming from the hole, followed by low, ominous rumbling from deep within the cave. They tried to rationalize these occurrences, thinking that the wind was just blowing a little stronger outside, and that the rumbling noise was coming from the trucks driving on the mountain road above the cave. So, despite the noise growing louder and...
Here, let's just try and rationalize this stuff and, you know, just not put our lives in danger. Let's rationalize all of this stuff and put our lives in danger instead of, you know, doing the smart thing and leaving it the fuck alone.
and more frequent they pressed on. A decision they'd come to regret, as the sense of unease kept getting worse, fueled by a series of increasingly disturbing occurrences.
Puppy.
Like their dog becoming agitated as soon as it reached the cave and refused to go anywhere near the hole.
Did you just awake
Or
the
the two hearing
ancient
what Ted
spirits?
described
Like,
as the most terrible scream he has ever heard from the hole, lasting nearly 10 seconds. Once the hole was big enough, Ted crawled through to the other side, only to be met by a massive, unnaturally round boulder sitting in the center of a small chamber. There were also hieroglyph-like drawings on the walls depicting people standing around a...
no. Get the fuck out of there. What the fuck is wrong with you? As soon as you see this shit, you leave. You should have left when your gut was telling you to. But now you should really fucking leave.
A strange symbol. He took photos on his disposable Polaroid camera and came back. But when he tried to develop those pictures later that day, every photo he took of the round rock and its surroundings came out completely blank. They then tried recruiting another experienced caver, Joe, hoping a fresh perspective might help. However, Joe returned minutes after he went in, visibly shaken by the experience.
What's that horror movie? As Above, So Below? That's what I'm feeling at the moment.
Refused to speak about what he saw on
Or The Descent. Either or.
the other side, and just stated that he would never enter that hole again. Left with no other choice, Ted decided to move...
Ew! 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 No! Why would you put yourself in a space like that? Why? You are literally squished, dude. You cannot move. What are you doing? What the fuck? I'm tiny and I wouldn't even go in there. Fuck no. No! Hell no. I have claustrophobia, by the way.
to explore the new area himself. But as soon as he reached the other side, he began hearing...
There it is. There it fucking is. There it is. There it is. The fucking cave diver meme.
the rock scraping sound again. He panicked and ran for the exit, only to see the round rock in a different position than it originally was. As he crawled through the hole, a nauseating stench began to fill the cave. Then, just as he and B reached the entrance, something tugged on their rope. In a panic, B slashed it with his knife, sending whatever was climbing up crashing back into the darkness. Yet, their story doesn't end there. In his May 19th, 2001 update, Ted talked about their plans to go back fully equipped.
Why? 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 You are so dumb. This is the stupidest shit ever. Why? There are so many red flags. There are so many red flags. I hate this so much. I really do. I'm claustrophobic as fuck. And the idea of going into caves, especially, you know, like, just the stuff that's underground, you don't know that. You don't know what's in those caves. They've been unexplored for who knows how fucking long. Why would you do this to yourself? Especially with so many things going wrong.
Solved the mystery and captured definitive proof of the insides with photos and video footage. However, the updates never came, leaving readers to wonder what happened.
Oh my god. They're dead. They have to be. There's so many red flags. And they still went. And now there's no updates. They're gone.
Happened to Ted and B. Now, I should mention that back then, many online communities were skeptical about the authenticity of this story and internet rabbit hole. However, the irregular updates and accompanying photos were convincing enough to make many believe the story was real. But the story was completely fake. Back then, internet creepypastas or fake horror stories presented as true weren't really a thing, or at least weren't very common. Many people had no reason not to believe this story.
You're telling me it was
Nowadays, the Ted the
fake?
Caver story is often referred to as the internet's first creepypasta. In 2004,
Is this
he joined
fake?
a discussion about his
What? Now I just feel like a complete and total idiot.
story on a forum site and admitted he made it up. Apparently, they did it.
Fuck. It genuinely did sound believable though. The photos and everything did make it sound like it was believable. To be fair, that was a really good job for having all of this fake. Fucking fool me. But still, why would you go into like that small crawl space where you couldn't move?
Explore the cave and actually took the pictures he posted on his journal. But everything about the round boulder, the drawings on the wall, and the chase at the end was completely fictional. However, none of this detracted from its position as the story that introduced the internet to creepypastas, a genre that's prevalent to this day. The Glitter Conspiracy.
Glitter.
On the 21st
I told you we needed more glitter.
of December 2018, New York Times posted an article titled, "What is Glitter?" This was supposed to be nothing more than an educational article on what glitter
Oh my god, it's everywhere. Oh my god, it literally is everywhere.
is and where it's used in our day-to-day lives. However, what its author didn't realize at the time was that this would ignite one of the most heavily debated rabbit holes in internet history. It started with an odd conversation between the article's writer and a manager from GlitterX, which is one of the largest glitter manufacturers in the US. When I asked Miss Dyer if she could tell me which industry served as GlitterX's biggest market, her answer was instant. No, I absolutely know I can't. I was taken aback. But you know what it is? Oh god, yes, she said and laughed. You would never guess it. Let's just leave it at that. I asked if she could tell me why she couldn't tell me. Because they don't want you to know that it's glitter. If I looked at it, I wouldn't know it was glitter? No, not really.
What?
Would I be able to see the glitter? Oh, you'd be able to see something, but yeah, I can. The writer then asked if she could tell the buyer's name off record, but she refused completely. Not long after the article went live, someone posted their strange conversation on the Unresolved Mysteries subreddit, sparking a wave of speculation about who this mysterious client could be. One of the top comments under this post pointed towards a potential use by law enforcement as an ID for explosives, reading, "Micro-taggants, multi-layered micro-glitter added to all commercial explosives. Simple to batch trace on-site after the detonation using only a microscope. Use dynamite for illegal purposes and leave evidence as clear as a fingerprint. Law enforcement probably don't want this fact circulating." And while this made some logical sense,
Okay.
others leaned toward crazier conspiracy-adjacent theories. Like, this one user claimed that the government spreads glitter on beaches to increase their sparkle and by extension attract more tourists. A few people also suggested that the mystery buyer could be the US military, since glitter's reflective properties might make it useful for camouflaging equipment by deflecting radar signals. One user proposed a more unsettling theory, that GlitterX's biggest client could be a toothpaste company, using glitter to create the illusion of sparkling clean teeth. While the idea sounds absurd at first, it's not entirely out of the realm of possibility
Oh, yeah,
given how common
toothbrush.
microplastics are in
Well,
personal
toothpaste
products.
I've seen glitter
However,
in.
none of these theories hold much merit. Microplastics and personal care products, including toothpaste, were banned back in July 2017, over a year before the New York Times interview. The military contract theory is also completely detached from the truth. In reality, the radar-absorbing coating used for fighter jets is made from iron and ferrite, not shiny plastics. So, while these theories were fascinating to sift through, none of them actually answered the one question that started it all. Who was buying all the glitter? This remained a mystery for almost an entire year before someone managed to uncover the truth. On the 8th of November 2019, the Endless Thread podcast dropped an episode titled The Great Glitter Mystery, and this had the answer people were looking for. Apparently, the answer was boat manufacturers. This might sound odd at first, but it actually makes a lot of sense when you consider the shimmering, reflective paint used on many newer boats. As for why GlitterX might be so
I wasn't
secretive
expecting
about the
boats.
identity of their biggest
I'll give
client,
them that.
one plausible reason could be environmental concerns. Glitter, especially the traditional kind made from microplastics, has been heavily criticized for its contribution to pollution,
That's
particularly in
why.
oceans, where it can be harmful to marine life. So if it came out that companies were using it in boat paint and releasing untold amounts of microplastics into the ocean, it could spark public backlash or calls for regulation. In the end, the truth behind the glitter conspiracy was a lot more mundane than secret military contracts or explosive detection, leaving many to express their disappointment online. Polybius. Polybius is the name of a rumored arcade game that
Oh my
had
god, Polybius. We all love Polybius, don't we, children?
limited release in 1981 and has since been lost to time. As the story goes, a single cabinet of the game was installed in a random arcade in Portland, Oregon in 1980.
Freaking. Alright, hold on. I gotta show you guys this clip. In fact, it's like the first one on there. Here we go.
With today's
It's the most replayed part.
secret, top secret, warning, special access required. Oh. This has to be real. What if this is like a bomb and I opened it up and it exploded? And I got bombed. Small.
Yep.
It smells sweet. It smells sweet. And what's this? A plug. Oh my lord. Look at this. It's a Polybius arcade cabinet.
It is such a cute arcade cabinet. I bought one of those mini arcade machines. I got the Pac-Man one. And oh my god, it is addicting. Like, Pac-Man break, everybody. Motherfucker. Oh shit, I didn't even realize it was there. This is not a good game, everybody. This is not a good round. Not a good round on that one. Oh shit. Fucking ghosts. But yeah, I got myself a little mini Pac-Man arcade and now I'm addicted and now I want to get more of these little mini arcade things.
This is so f***ing cool. I gotta plug this in and play it. Alright. I don't feel so good. I'm looking at it right now and it's making me sick.
Okay,
Is this
guys.
real? Can I play it or is this
We
fake?
can't look at it. Oh, that sounds dope.
Insert coin? Is this even real, dude? Did I get scammed? It seems real. It says 1981 on it. That's kind of unique. Oregon Amusement Machine Commission. City of Portland, State of Oregon. Whoa.
I don't think you could play it. I don't think you could play that, but like, it's cool. I mean, it's cool nonetheless. Don't get me wrong.
Welcome to our live streams, the Too Late Show, live Monday.
Alright. Thank you, Oompa. Subscribe to Oompa.
The cabinet was plain without any fancy graphics on the sides, and the gameplay was described as weird and puzzle-like with action elements. This gameplay is also rumored to be surprisingly addictive. There are reports of teens spending hours playing this game, to the point of getting dizzy and even fainting.
We need to bring back older arcades. We really do. We need, like, actual arcade machines. Not this bullshit you can play in Dave & Buster's now.
However, there were also several claims suggesting that the dizziness and fainting were actually side effects of government-led mind control experiments conducted through the game. You see, according to the myth, men dressed in black suits would regularly visit the arcade, not to play Polybius, but to collect data from the machine, like on behalf of the CIA or some other three-letter agency. The cabinet also reportedly remained in arcades for only a brief period before mysteriously disappearing without a trace. This mix of addictive gameplay, side effects like amnesia and nightmares, combined with the alleged Men in Black sightings, cemented Polybius in urban legend history.
Oh.
But here's the thing. There's no concrete proof
Not
the game
the Men
ever
in
actually
Black.
existed. No official records, no contemporary newspaper articles, nothing verifiable from 1981 mentions it. The only, quote, real evidence of its existence is this screenshot of the title screen, which looks a bit too advanced for its era, and this grainy black and white picture of an allegedly real Polybius cabinet. The high noise, overblown exposure, and overall low resolution makes it near impossible to extract any details. However, given the overall shape of the cabinet, this was likely a
Dude, you got Galaga. This dude's got Galaga.
repurposed Namco cabinet with its stickers removed.
Fuck yeah,
And
dude.
even if these images are real, there are no sources dating back to the 1980s that could verify their authenticity. In fact, from what I was able to find, one of the earliest mentions of Polybius in any gaming magazine or website was in the year 2000 on a website called coinop.org. The legend did become widespread enough to inspire enthusiasts into building their own real-life Polybius arcade cabinets. However, I wasn't able to find a single piece of evidence matching its original description. So, where did the story come from? It's likely a fascinating case of collective memory blending fact and fiction. As a comment on Reddit noted, Polybius wasn't real, but it was inspired by stories of surreal 80s vector games, people playing arcade games for too long and getting sick, and teens doing shady things that resulted in authorities coming into arcades. Think of it this way, the early 80s saw visually intense vector graphic games like Tempest, which could be quite disorienting, especially in a dimly lit, smoke-filled arcade. Arcades were also rowdy places where teenagers pushed boundaries, sometimes prompting authorities to monitor them for reasons like truancy or gambling. It's plausible that these separate
Let's go gambling.
real occurrences, getting eye strain from a vector game, feeling ill after a marathon session, seeing officials in an arcade, morphed and merged over time into the singular, terrifying narrative of Polybius. Or it's also possible that the Polybius myth was the masterwork of a single imaginative individual. Someone who managed to craft one of the most talked about rabbit holes in the history of internet gaming folklore. The Box of Crazy. On November 4th, 2013, Reddit user TramStopDan posted an Imgur album on the What's in This Thing subreddit titled Large Box Full of Odd Illustrations of an Event, aka The Box of Crazy, found by the trash bins. On the surface, this looked like nothing more than an antique wooden briefcase. However, its contents told a completely different story. Inside, there were hundreds of documents containing text records of alleged UFO sightings, diagrams and schematics for complex otherworldly machinery, and hand-drawn illustrations of disturbing demonic creatures. The box also contained a lot of handwritten notes from the creator of all these illustrations, Daniel Christensen, as well as several maps and globe projections. Much of it was cryptic and difficult to decipher. However, even after reviewing just a small portion, it became clear that this was the work of someone who was deeply unwell. Some of his
Yeah, I
notes
would
hinted at
say
the
so.
possibility of him being a World War II veteran, which could explain the origin of his mental illness. However, that wasn't what started his fascination with aliens and extraterrestrial life forms. Some of the earliest documents in the box were from 1937, with some of the newest ones dating to 1977. In other words, Daniel remained fixated on this topic for over 4 decades.
Okay.
However, his earlier work was a lot tamer and more legible than whatever he came up with in his later years, hinting at his deteriorating mental health. As for the actual contents of this box, however, one particular topic stood out above the rest: his account of the incident that happened on July 7th, 1977. According to Daniel, Tampa Bay was hit by a tornado on that day. But that tornado was just to disguise alien ships used to make contact with Earth without getting spotted.
Okay,
He
pal.
created several detailed illustrations of what he saw that day, and it's bizarre to say the least. In reality, there were no records of a tornado or any other extreme weather event happening in Tampa Bay on the 7th of July. That said, Daniel didn't choose this day at random. You see, a lot of Daniel's illustrations of the 7th of July include this same building as the center point for alien descent. This was the inverted pyramid on the St. Petersburg Pier in Tampa. Coincidentally, this building was also lit up with a massive laser light show installation on July 7th, 1977. So it's highly likely that Daniel witnessed this laser show, misinterpreted it as an alien encounter, and then spiraled into an obsession to document what he genuinely believed was a life-changing event. And the craziest part is, this was only a fraction of the work he produced in his lifetime. This is because, as the story gained traction online, a Reddit user named That's My Box came forward, claiming that she was the previous owner of the wooden box Tram Stop Dan found. And apparently she was telling the truth. She moved into a new home in the 90s where she found a room full of Daniel's work. This included a chair-like machine he'd constructed, which, according to his notes, was the device he'd used for an out-of-body experience and time travel. Unfortunately, most of Daniel's stuff had to be thrown out, which is how Tram Stop Dan found the box. It really makes you wonder what other mind-bending contraptions, bizarre concepts, or odd events he might have noted down on paper during his lifetime. Eritas. On November 5th, 2015, an anonymous user posted a thread on 4chan talking about a strange conversation they had with a girl at work. The girl he talked with was, at the time, homeless and in a band. She also worked for a really shady company that was in the process of closing down. One day, her supervisors gave her and another employee 2 tape guns and instructed them to pack boxes. However, the tape in one of these guns had the word Eritas written on it. When she inquired about this word, her coworker told her to get rid of the tape gun and to not mention the word to any of the supervisors. Apparently, he used to work in IT, and one of his jobs was to flag employees who searched this term so they could be fired. The OP was curious about what Eritas meant. However, this was also the first time other 4chan users had encountered the word, so they couldn't offer much help in figuring out what it meant either. But then a month later, on December 19th, another anonymous user brought up Eritas again, hinting that it was some HR-related computer program. But this time the OP received an answer, which defined Eritas as a program that allows some specific third-party company unconditional access to employee information. This reply also mentioned major brands like UPS, Unilever, and Ecolab.
Okay.
About 1 more month later, on January 25th, a user on the music board talked about wanting to make music from obscure YouTube videos. They also included a list of video links they were interested in. The second of these links led to a video titled "YouTube is Monitoring and Controlling My Life" that was posted just 2 days before the 4chan post. The owner of the channel that posted this video, Chronos for Life Jurassic Park, believed
That name
he was
sounds
being
familiar.
targeted by
That YouTube
Eritas.
channel sounds familiar.
This, along with a now-deleted Q&A video Chronos posted later, gave people a clearer picture of Eritas' true nature. Eritas, as many came to understand it, was a mass surveillance and censorship software allegedly used by powerful entities to securely monitor the public. What made Eritas so terrifyingly effective was its ability to erase its own existence. It would detect any time someone mentioned it across the internet and remove that reference without a trace. Chronos even posted a video titled "Here Goes Nothing" as bait for Eritas, hoping the advanced algorithm would target and delete the video, thereby proving it was real. But that wasn't all. Turning on captions revealed that the video also had hidden messages at several points throughout its runtime. Decoding these messages led to a fake address that was listed on the profile of a band called KFC Murder Chicks. This band featured homeless girls, and surprisingly, one of them reportedly worked in a warehouse, just like the mysterious girl who told the first 4chan user about Eritas. Looking further into this band revealed a YouTube upload of one of their songs which had the word Eritas in its description as well. The channel that uploaded this video, Todd Ellsworth, also had a relatively empty Twitter account with the word. The only noteworthy post on this account was this creepy, elongated portrait of a man.
I'm not looking at it.
By this point, many
I
people
can't.
who were following the mystery assumed that Todd
I don't
and the
look at
KFC
creepy
Chicks band had
images,
something to
creepy
do
or
with
unsettling
Eritas.
images. No,
Or at least they knew something about this advanced algorithm that
not
no one
happening.
else did.
Thank you.
But when asked about it, they denied having any knowledge about the term. Unfortunately, that's where the lead stopped. Users had so much information and connection points between various groups and people, but it led to nowhere. This left Eritas as just another unsolved mystery of the internet. That is until August 2020, when a YouTuber called Toxicologist managed to get an interview with a person named DJ Roswell. As it turned out, Roswell was behind everything from the very beginning. He was the leader of the KFC Murder Chicks band and wanted to promote his band with an ARG. So he was the one who created the lore surrounding Eritas.
Oh my god,
and
it's an
every puzzle piece connecting
ARG.
to it. As for this unsettling image, this turned out to just be a police sketch of a horrible criminal from Hawaii that had nothing to do with the band or the ARG. Roswell just used this picture because it was attention grabbing. Unfortunately for Roswell, people weren't able to progress through the storyline fast enough, and many lost interest over time, giving a tragically mundane ending to the mystery of Eritas.
Bro. Oh, jeez.
Alan Tutorial. In June 2011, a YouTube channel called Alan Tutorial uploaded its first video called How to Leak on a Piece of Paper. This 1 minute and 15-second video didn't make any logical sense
YouTube
and was
channel.
just a jumbled mess of random actions.
You rip off a piece of paper, and you're gonna put the paper on the floor. Next thing you do is you gotta take the fork, and you're gonna have to run a hole inside.
The channel began producing videos of obscure tutorials, like teaching users how to make a windmill from household items, or how to fill a tiny bin with dirt. However, as time went on, users began to notice the mental health of the creator, Alan, begin to deteriorate. He went from gleefully explaining some illogical concept to crying during tutorials and getting accidentally hurt while trying to make the video. This marked a shifting point in the channel where it went from silly to often downright disturbing, and no video encapsulates this better than the one titled Disc Tutorial. It shows the host, Alan, getting kidnapped in a truck and slipping over his own blood, all while trying to make his usual tutorial. Even in captivity, Alan continued creating content with whatever he had access to, at one point even resorting to reading the news on camera just to stay connected with his audience. All of this, of course, turned out to be nothing more than a fictional storyline created by art student Alan Resnick. And while many of his longtime viewers understood this, newer viewers, stumbling across his uploads out of context, often couldn't make sense of what they were watching.
Oh yeah, that would
With
be
a concerned comment under the
weird.
Disc Tutorial video reading, either this guy is a brilliant actor / art student, or something weird is happening and none of us suspect anything because we all think he's a brilliant actor / art student. I'm starting to have my doubts. All
For
of this
real,
came to an
though.
end in December of 2014 when Alan posted his final video simply titled Tutorial, a nearly 2-minute upload in which Alan finds a way to bust through a wall and escape his captor, never to be seen again. Ever since this conclusion, fans have gone back and analyzed each video to find the hidden meaning and bits of lore. According to the most popular interpretation, the character Alan Resnick created suffers from autism and was living with his older brother and his girlfriend who didn't like him. This explains why he ends up homeless at one point, as his uncaring family kicks him out. Some users have also speculated that the reason he's crying in the blue chair tutorial video is because it reminds him of the way he found his mother after her death. This theory is supported by the video's description, which reads, "If your chair is on the floor, here is how you get it back and pick up all the pieces of something broken and unfair." However, creator Alan Resnick has never confirmed or denied any of these theories, choosing to leave his years-long art project open for interpretation instead.
That's fine. That's cool. Actually, leaving
This
it up
house
to your
has
own
people in it.
interpretation.
This House Has People in It is an analog horror short film that was aired on Adult Swim back in March 2016. The
Adult
short is often known
Swim.
for just how weird and disturbing its concept is. It was directed by Alan Resnick, the creator and actor of the Alan Tutorial channel we just discussed. Though, unlike Alan Tutorial, which started off as lighthearted and slowly descended into absolute madness, This House Has People in It wastes no time pulling viewers into its surreal, unsettling world. It starts with the footage of someone logging into a computer and choosing a specific video to play. The footage then cuts to the CCTV feed from a house with 9 cameras, and then cuts again to the main couple, Tom and Ann, arguing about where to go for vacation.
No, it's not that expensive. Orlando's expensive. All the hotels and other...
And immediately something is extremely wrong with the situation as we see a person lying on the kitchen floor while the couple ignores them completely. From there, we also see a repairman working in the basement and the son Jackson watching TV in the living room that is decorated for his birthday. We also learn that the person lying on the kitchen floor is Tom and Ann's teenage daughter, Madison. She had a fight with Ann 2 hours ago and has been lying there in anger ever since. After a few minutes, Tom tries to pick Madison up, only to make a disturbing discovery.
It is time. What? Prime links. That is disgusting.
Madison appears to be completely stuck on the floor. The situation then goes from bad to horrific as Madison starts sinking through the kitchen floor. The repairman tries to help by putting a plank on Madison's face to stop her from sinking through. However, that does not work, resulting in Tom having a complete meltdown in the basement.
I'm ready for you. I'm ready for anything.
What the hell?
You've always been so beautiful. Stop right now. I praise you. I serve you.
Left with no other option, they make a final-ditch effort to save their daughter by placing a mattress underneath her. We eventually see Madison fall onto the mattress, which then immediately cuts to a shot of the mattress without her, implying that she fell through the basement floor as well. The short ends with the guests who gathered for Jackson's birthday lying down in the yard just like Madison, while Tom and Ann are freaking out inside.
What?
The short seems to carry a major theme of neglect that's
What did I just watch? I was so
For
invested.
instance, we see Madison lie on the kitchen floor for 2 hours before Tom and Ann talk directly to her. Jackson is completely neglected by his parents. The baby doesn't have food in her bowl, and when Tom hands the baby to Grandma, she immediately sets it down, which ultimately results in her crawling out of the house. As a comment on YouTube puts it, I think the title, "This House Has People in It," is referring to this is a house, not a home. We are just people who live together, not a family. However, this was just the tip of the iceberg.
Okay.
You see, this short was released
I'm
with
invested.
a now defunct website called absurveillancesolutions.com. Visiting this site unlocked a fully functional ARG, which in turn unlocked hours of additional footage, dozens of images, and even chat logs between the family.
That's so
Viewers also
cool.
uncovered additional plot points hidden within the extended media, including one about a mysterious disease slowly spreading throughout the world of the film. It's so extensive that even 9 years after its release, fans still aren't sure if they've uncovered everything hidden within it.
That's cool. That's actually really cool. Okay, that last part had me so invested. Wow. Invested for sure. Oh, excuse me. Yowzers. Oh god. Excuse me, sorry. Alright, let's do 5 most disturbing 4chan threads. I'm just going down a rabbit hole with this YouTuber, so let's do it.
Gas mask. On the 19th of September 2000...
Okay. This is reminding me of a story. So, when I was in middle school, okay, I had my history teacher. He brought in a gas mask and had all of us try and put it on under 10 seconds. Like, he timed us and everything. He just was like, if you don't get this gas mask on within like 10 seconds, you're dead. And I think I was one of the only students who managed to get under those 10 seconds. So, yippee.
17, an anonymous 4chan user posted a picture of a gas mask, 2 bottles of vinegar, and a jug of bleach, captioned, "About to test out this gas mask." While some brushed it off, thinking that the OP was just messing around, a few showed genuine curiosity and egged on the OP to continue his experiment. Okay, post results if you live. However, this curiosity turned into concern when the OP returned with an update 20 minutes later, stating, "What could go wrong? We'll report." Alongside this, he posted a picture of the vinegar being poured into a mysterious yellow substance, which looked shockingly similar to concentrated chlorine gas. For those who don't know, chlorine gas is a deadly war chemical that was used by the German army during the First World War.
How the fuck do you just have that?
More importantly, the only chemicals needed to synthesize this dangerous gas are bleach and vinegar, the exact materials OP had with him. The OP either didn't know about the gas or seriously underestimated its danger. Unfortunately, by the time he realized the gravity of his situation, it was already too late. Because just a few minutes later, he returned with a disturbing update. "Holy, it hurts. Might have to go to the hospital." This also included a picture that showed his arm developing blisters and turning
Oh
an
my
alarming shade of
god.
red. These symptoms matched perfectly with known signs of chlorine gas exposure.
Oh my
sparking
god,
immediate
dude. Go
concern for
like
the
yeah,
safety
no,
of
go to the
OP and
hospital.
anyone in
What
his
the
vicinity.
fuck?
You fool. That will burn your skin and soak into your surroundings. Legit question. Please tell me you don't have an apartment / pets or roommates. Depending on your mixture, you just messed up big time. Let's say you made only 4 ounces of gas. That comes out to 29,962 parts per million. Concentrations of about 400 parts per million and above are generally fatal over 30 minutes, and at 1,000 parts per million and above, fatality ensues within only a few minutes. Dude, go vent yourself somewhere and literally bathe with a garden hose. You are going to melt otherwise. It acts on flesh, not just on breathing pathways. It melts flesh, which makes people drown in their own melted lungs. But your arms can get messed up too.
Oh my
While
god.
the other users were panicking, the OP made 2 other posts, each showing his arm in increasingly worse condition. "It's starting to peel and fall off. Still hurts." With his last reply simply stating, "Goodbye." After posting this update, the OP vanished from the thread, leading many to believe that he might have actually passed away due to this experiment gone wrong. Some even claimed the incident had taken the lives of several of his neighbors. However, despite extensive searching, I wasn't able to find any news reports mentioning such a gruesome incident.
Why would you do this
If
to
something
yourself?
of this magnitude had actually happened, it would have definitely made headlines. More importantly, I couldn't find a single credible source confirming just the OP's death either. In other words, we don't know what happened to him after his last post. The lack of any news coverage could suggest that the OP may have survived the chlorine gas exposure, possibly after calling emergency services and being rushed to the hospital. But that's highly unlikely. Even in moderate concentration, chlorine gas can end someone's life in minutes. Yet the OP kept posting about his worsening state for over 30 minutes after creating the deadly chemical. Which brings us to the other possibility, that this whole thing was completely fake from the beginning. To some viewers, the peeling skin on his arm looks suspiciously like makeup, or at most some well-done special effects.
Yeah.
A now deleted user on Reddit even added a personal anecdote to back this theory, stating, "I have a face mask exfoliator that goes on wet and looks pretty much the same as Anon's skin in the first pic, and peels off like the following pics. See how the skin is peeling off and shows regular skin underneath? If he was actually burned, the skin underneath would look red and or bleeding. He probably just grabbed one of his girlfriend's exfoliators and slapped it on because it looked red enough to fool people." If the whole thing was staged, it would also explain some of the strange behavior I noticed from the OP. Things like, why did he stay in the bathroom with the hazardous gas for so long, instead of rushing out immediately? And how was he able to endure the excruciating pain he must have been in, all while taking perfectly framed, still pictures of his arm? However, despite all the signs suggesting it was a complete hoax, there's still no definitive way to know for sure. Maybe one day a news article will be found that announced the OP's death, or perhaps the OP will come forward and reveal the truth. Until then, the gas mask incident remains one of the most disturbing threads in 4chan history.
Alright, I'm gonna pause. Hold on, I need to stop my recording and check something over here. Oh shit, not that. Oh, I'm bringing my camera closer. Pausing, pausing, pausing. Ah, jeez. Jesus. Cool, alright. Just gotta make sure the video lines up with my audio, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, that should be good now.
Bank robber. On August 20, 2015, a 4chan user posted his plans to rob a bank later that day, stating,
Why would you post that?
"Okay, today is the day. I'm going to walk into the bank at 3 p.m. with sunglasses, a hat, a sweater, a BB gun, and this note. I'll get out, dump the sweater and BB gun, and ride out on my bike back to the hotel. I'm serious. Wish me luck." Alongside this was a picture of a handwritten note that he planned to hand over to the bank teller, stating things like, "I want $5,000, $150 bills only, and I have a gun in my jacket." However, threads like these aren't anything new on 4chan. More often than not, it's just some anonymous user who's bored, trolling, or desperate for attention. So, despite the OP's insistence on being serious about his plans, this one seemed no different. One user even recognized the OP from a previous thread where he talked about robbing the bank for $20,000 instead. To make matters worse, the OP didn't use a VPN before, allowing someone to trace his approximate location back to Jacksonville. By this point, most users saw the OP as nothing more than a clueless mug. However, while everyone was making fun of him, the OP did what no one expected. He followed through with his plans, setting off a manhunt that would last for weeks.
Oh shit, bro, I
It
should
started with him
have
showing off the BB gun he brought to the robbery, and getting drunk to calm his nerves. From there, he stayed active in the thread and kept everyone updated on his whereabouts. He also ditched anonymity and began posting under the Anon Dump username so others could follow his updates more easily. Minutes before the planned time, he posted about someone stealing his bike, which he was going to use for the robbery, before going completely silent. This led many to believe that the plan was cancelled, but around 25 minutes later, Anon Dump returned with images of the money he stole, along with a detailed description of what he did and what he was doing next. However, while he saw himself as a master criminal, the police weren't far behind. His hat and glasses did little to hide his identity, allowing investigators to plaster his face across news networks. He also put a $3,000 reward for any information that could lead to his arrest. This left the OP fearing for his life as the gravity of his actions began to sink in. Hey guys, guy who robbed the bank here. My face is on the news and there's a $3,000 reward for tips leading to my capture. I'm scared. Robbing a bank wasn't worth it at all. I have like $4,800.
Robbing a bank wasn't worth it at all. No! Of course not. Committing any crime is not fucking worth it. Well, I mean... I guess there's a few small crimes that might be worth it, but not robbing a fucking bank.
Dollars left. I'm scared of leaving the hotel. I want to get out of here, but somebody may see me. I'm trapped. And this fear was justified. He was now a fugitive who was being actively pursued by the police. On top of that, he also had a BB gun on him, which looked like a real gun at first glance. If the officers barged into his hotel
back when they did,
and
yes,
saw this gun nearby, there was a real possibility he could lose his life over a relatively small amount. Despite his growing fear, he continued updating everyone on 4chan about his whereabouts, until the 21st of August, around 3 p.m., when, after hiding in a hotel room for nearly 24 hours, he managed to escape the city and vanish from the thread. Now, it's unclear what happened next, but based on what I've seen, it's likely the investigators were already monitoring his updates on 4chan, and his post about taking a cab from the hotel gave them the lead they needed to track him down. On September 2nd, 2015, authorities arrested 26-year-old Pedro Smith, aka Anon Dump, about 70 miles from the crime scene in Gainesville. He was charged with armed robbery and faced a minimum of 10 years in prison. However, after a trial in September, he was sentenced to only 3 years in prison, which didn't make sense to some people on the internet. How did he get away with such a light sentence after robbing a bank and hiding from the police for so many days? A few people looked into his whereabouts after his release in March of 2018 and discovered that he was living in a luxurious home worth over $1.5 million in Miami. This pointed to the possibility that he had wealthy parents who could also afford top-tier lawyers to help reduce his sentence.
Then why would he fucking rob a bank if he was so wealthy? This person is just a little... I don't think bro thinks these things through.
In other words, the only reason Pedro had for robbing a bank and potentially risking his life was to gain the attention and approval of other users on 4chan.
Imagine trying to get approval from 4chan. That's low.
Researching these 4chan videos is some of the sketchiest research I do on this channel.
Sponsor?
Everything is anonymous, so you'll see people post pretty
Sponsor?
much anything. There is no way I would trust sites like these.
What is it, Aura?
Scares to try
It is Aura!
for free.
I don't know when this was, so
That'll be enough time for Aura to find out if any of
the
your
code might
personal
not
data
work.
is
Sorry,
exposed.
guys. Yeah, when was this? Oh, it's 3 weeks ago. I don't know if it'll still work, but... Well, 3 weeks ago is the time of this.
In April of 2018, a 4chan user made a post seeking information about a disturbing picture they recently came across. It read, "On one of the recent iceberg chart threads, someone mentioned the Monon tunnels not being on the iceberg. When I went to Google what these tunnels were, the only results I got were the original thread and pic related. Does anyone know more about it? I don't know how to read EXIF data." Coupled with the post was an image that looked like the aftermath of a horrific crime scene. It depicts two masked figures standing in a grass field at night, their index fingers raised towards the sky. Behind them is what looks like the remains of a young child in a red jacket, lying face down on the grass. Unfortunately, no one on 4chan had any clue what the OP was talking about either.
What?
One user did claim to have seen a similar image back in the 2000s when they first started using 4chan, but they didn't provide any further information. The contents of the image also divided the community in two. Some speculated that this was the trophy photo the two men took after ending a life. They look like hunters posing with a fresh kill, while others weren't so convinced. I feel like this might just be some kind of photo shoot. You know, like a bunch of kids hanging out and they decided why not take some pictures, which led them to taking this picture just for them to show it around on the internet for shock or something. Which begs the question, what is this really? I tried searching for answers myself, however information surrounding this image is surprisingly hard to come by. For starters, the OP mentioned an iceberg chart thread in their post, but never provided the link or even the name of the thread.
Bro, why?
Looking at the image itself, there's not much we can gather from it either. There are no visible landmarks or even stars in the sky that could help us pinpoint the location where the image was taken. The only clue we have is the name, the Monon Tunnels, referring to the tiny town called Monon, Indiana. But even that's not much help, since the town is littered with hundreds of flat grass patches that could have served as the backdrop
The fucking Midwest.
for this image. The camera noise makes it near impossible to estimate the year this image was taken based on the image quality as well. And there wasn't any useful information in its embedded data either. I also couldn't find any exact matches on the internet outside the original 4chan through reverse image searching. However, while looking for similar images, I came across something that could potentially clue us into the origin of this unsettling image. You see, there are two distinct possibilities for what it represents. First is that it was taken by a couple of serial killers as trophy photo proof of their horrible crime. But I wasn't able to find any matching incident that happened in Monon or its surrounding area. Even if the killers were never caught, there would still probably be a report where the victim's description aligns with the person we see in the image. Which leads us into the second, more likely possibility. This was simply a group of friends, and the person lying in the background is actually an adult who likely passed out after a night of drinking. Now, there's no way to know if the disturbing feel of the image was intentional or not, but the possibility of this being a completely harmless picture is fairly high. Reverse image searching it brings up hundreds of similar photos, with people having fun and lying down on a patch of grass at night. That being said, this is nothing more than conjecture on my part, and the reality could be anything. Then there's also the question of how the OP got their hands on this image if it's nowhere else to be found on the internet. Sadly, it's
That's
been over
true, like
7
why
years
can't we
since the
find it
original
anywhere
thread, meaning
else?
it's unlikely
It's weird.
we'll ever uncover the truth. Spoon and duct tape experiment.
Spoon and
On
duct
the
tape.
9th of April 2010,
What?
an anonymous 4chan user posted a fun science experiment for others to try. The instructions were as follows. Go to your kitchen and find a nice metal spoon. Teaspoons work too, but normal ones are better. Get yourself
Okay.
a lighter. The bigger the flame, the better. Get some duct tape and wrap it around the handle, about 4 to 6 layers. Start heating up the spoon with the lighter. Make it really, really hot. Holding it just above the flame for about 2 minutes should work. Go to a faucet and turn on cold water at full force. Hold the spoon directly under the faucet. Post results. At first glance, this experiment looked like it had something to do with steam. Maybe pressing the hot spoon under the faucet would instantly vaporize the water, filling the room with a sudden burst of steam or fog, something along those lines. When, in reality, the results were much worse. Whoever thought of this wicked experiment did so with the intention of hurting people. And unfortunately, their plan worked better than they could have expected. Within the first hour of the thread going live, nearly a dozen people had injured themselves attempting to follow the instructions. I thought, hey, what could go wrong, and I tried it. At first, it steamed in my face like crazy, and then the spoon started ticking and split into 3 parts, one shooting through a plate, one through a cut, and the last barely missed me.
Oh my
I don't
god.
believe this, so I thought I would try this, expecting something cool would happen, like a lot of smoke. But instead, I got a shrapnel spoon. It nearly exploded in my hand and shards went off in all directions, causing me to take cover. This nearly cost me my life.
Oh my
And I
god.
couldn't begin. OP, why? I covered my face expecting steam. My hands are bleeding so much it hurts. No one do this. Extreme cooling causes metals to burst. Now, 4chan is no stranger to causing widespread harm with these cool experiments, like the one I covered in my previous 4chan video. However, this one stood out for just how dangerously destructive it was. It used extremely common household items like duct tape and a spoon. And because it didn't involve any chemicals, people were far less cautious about just how dangerous it could be. According to one explanation, heating the spoon causes the inner layers of the tape to become extremely hot, almost to the point of melting, while the outer layers remain cool enough to still touch. Then, as the hot spoon comes under cold water, it quickly cools down. But since the inner tape around the handle is still scorching hot, it causes extreme temperature and pressure differences within the spoon, causing it to explode, sending shrapnel everywhere. And while the damage on 4chan was already immense, that was only the beginning. From there, this experiment spread like wildfire to other popular forum sites like Newgrounds, claiming even more victims in the process. The only silver lining here is that the spoon and duct tape experiment copy pasta has since faded into obscurity. So, at the very least, it hopefully won't be causing any more injuries.
Yeah, I would hope so. Fucking shrapnel spoons.
Back in 2008, some 4chan users got together and came up with one of the most cruel pranks in the site's history. Now, unfortunately, most of that thread has been lost to time. The only surviving proof I could find was this screenshot detailing what to do, stating, Epileptic Forum Raid. 1. Make account. 2. Spam flashing gifs, party hard, etc. 3. Troll the user base. 4. Question marks. 5. Profit.
Where's the profit come in?
The Epilepsy Foundation, a non-profit dedicated to supporting individuals with epilepsy and helping them find the care they need. After agreeing on a plan, the group of anonymous users headed over to the Foundation's website and exploited a security vulnerability to gain unrestricted access to the support forum. From there, they used a script to post hundreds of messages embedded with flashing animated GIFs with hopes of catching visitors off guard and triggering seizures. Tragically, this was just as effective as they expected.
What?
Within seconds of the
Why?
attack, dozens of users began experiencing intense migraines, with some even suffering full-blown seizures. One of the site's visitors, 33-year-old Rianne Foltz, described her painful experience in a later interview, stating, "It was a spike of pain in my head, and the lockup that only happens with really bad ones. I don't think I've had a seizure like that in about a year." She was just one.
God, I can't imagine that. Why would you do that to someone? Like, genuinely, why would you do that to people? Fucking people have no, like, they're either stupid or they just don't think about others. Because seizures can be very, very damaging to your brain and nervous system. That's crazy. Thankfully, I don't have, like, I don't deal with that. I mean, I do look away when there are flashing lights just because it, like, messes with my eyes and I'm like, I can't look at this. But, I've never had, like, epileptic seizures. I have had seizures before, but that was when I was really young. They were heat seizures, and I was a baby. So I was a baby having a couple heat seizures. That was not fun for my parents. But what, again, why? What's the purpose of this? What do you get out of it?
One of many victims that were swept up in what can only be described as a truly evil act. All the while, the 4chan attackers were celebrating their victory, laughing at the victim's pain, and calling the attack incredible and amazing. Fortunately, the Epilepsy Foundation's IT department managed to quickly take control of the situation before it escalated into a widespread crisis. And while I couldn't find any solid proof, a few sources suggest that the attack may have triggered an FBI investigation. Unfortunately, because of 4chan's anonymity, the people responsible for this horrible attack were never identified or held accountable.
Great. No one was held accountable for their actions. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. People are dicks. It's fucked. Again, why would you do that to somebody? That's just messed up. Man, alright. streaming. This is how long have I been streaming so far? Almost 2 fucking hours. Yowzers. I usually don't stream long because I get very, very drained quickly, and I get bored. Cause that's also another reason I don't stream so much. I am trying to stream more, but yeah. Okay. Before we do anything, I do wanna yeah. Yeah, so like lately there so I am not I don't even know how to say this. I'm not like a normal person. I'm not a normal person. And every once in a while there's a song that just gets stuck in my head and I have to listen to it on repeat for like a couple weeks up to like a month. It's and this one here. We got this one. I'm not gonna play it just because it's gonna copyright me. I know it will. Stop. Pause. Pause. But this is such an interesting case for me because it's not just the song itself, it's more or less the music video. The music video is kind of what I'm obsessed with, more so than the song itself. Now, Taco is putting on the Ritz. It's a cover. The original one was released in the 30s. And then you had, just before this one, in the 80s, there was the Young Frankenstein scene. Yeah, when was Young Frankenstein released? Hold on, I forgot. 1974. It was 1974. It was so yeah. It was, you had the original song, then you had the scene from Young Frankenstein, and now you have Taco's version. No, this one, it's the music the music. It's interesting because it's like it's very 80s, very 80s, but it's like new synth wave or shit like that, whatever genre, I can't remember. I think it's something like that. The music video is like weird, like it's just weird. Like the first half is pretty good, like it seems pretty normal anyway. For context, I know my history a little bit, fellas. This was early 80s, like 1983, I think this music video was released. The early 80s was when music videos were just starting. Like, they were a brand new thing. So a lot of early 80s music videos are very experimental, to say the least. They experimented a lot because this was a new format. They didn't have anything down for these things. So, like, the beginning's the most replayed part? Alright. And, like, look, he is strutting his stuff. Look at this shit. Bro is slaying in Bro slays in that. Like, let's be real. That is a beautiful, gorgeous coat. I also, the first time around, didn't notice that the cane that he had in his hand was lit up. It was like the second or third time I saw the music video. I was like, oh shit, that thing's actually glowing. So, like, it's like interesting. He has the makeup. He has the makeup that Gary Cooper used to, like, what was that style of makeup? But, like, there was a certain style of makeup that they had to wear in early films. Yeah. Yeah, so, like, there you go. They had to do that, back in the day. I forgot the reason. Probably because it just made your features easier to see that way. But there's literally, look at like, that right there. It's gonna take a while to load, isn't it? Oh, there we go. Like, see, look at that. That is literally the same kind of makeup. So it's kind of what's going on here. And, like, I like the dark lips. Like, usually you have bright lips, but the dark lips, oh. Yeah, they have, like, the super duper. And, you know, you have... It seems like they're in, like, a building. I thought it was, like, an alleyway at first. But it's actually, like, an abandoned building of some sort. Fucking money falling from the sky. And then, all of a sudden, all of those, like, homeless people are now in, like... They're all dressed up in these really nice suits and dresses, and they look like ghouls. Like, their makeup just make them look like they're ghouls. The undead. Which kind of makes it a little... Ayo, like, what? And then... Bro's like, follow me, motherfuckers, follow me. And yeah. And then we start getting into kind of the second half of the music video, which is just weird. Like, it's just weird. Like, well, you have this part. This guy looks like... This guy looks like Lurch from the Addams Family. That's the vibes I get from him. Oh, and by the way, Taco, I forgot to mention, he gives off heavy Tim Curry vibes in this. Like, I genuinely was like, when I first watched the music video, I was like, why the fuck is he giving off such strong Tim Curry vibes? Like, especially Clue. Like, specifically Clue. That's what I think of. And like I said, it gets really, really weird. Like, like, why is there just, like, these weird, like, blue effects going around him, and then... You have this part. Hold on, give it a second. I didn't go closer to the thing. You have the piano part, and then he's like move, and then you have whatever the fuck this guy is doing, like, the robotic, like, auto-tune voice. Hold on, it reminds me of Data from Star Trek. Like, bro looks like Data from Star Trek. So, like, yeah. And then, for some reason, it switches to this. Like, we've never seen these fucking things from these people before. And then all of a sudden it switches to, like, this random, like, men, like, with, prosthetics on that make them look, like, older and stuff. And there's snow falling? What is that? I mean, this part's cool. That part's cool. And then a random mouse cleaning itself on what looks to be like a chandelier. Like, what? I don't know. Huh? Creative freedom at its finest. I love it. I love it. I genuinely love this. Like, it starts off normal and then it gets really weird, and I actually really, really like that. Like, at the beginning it's like, it's okay, and then there's something kind of wrong about it, but then you get to the second half and it's like, whoa. Everything just got weird. Yeah, that's basically it. And, like, it's good. I love it. I genuinely love it. You know, bro, look at that. Taco looks good for his age. Bro, he really does. And, oh my god, my favorite thing about this. Hold on, where are the hashtags? Here they are. Fucking Five Nights at Freddy's in the hashtags. This motherfucker knows. He knows. He runs this account basically. I know because I saw him replying to people in the comments, and he actually confirmed it himself in the comments that it actually is him responding to these messages. So, bro knows about the Five Nights at Freddy's stuff, guys. That threw me off so hard. That threw me off guard so hard. Yeah, hold on. I want to find one that I... This is such an 80s recruitment... 80s vampire recruitment. I've seen a lot of vampire vibe comments about this one. Where is the one that I'm looking for? Like, he does like comments, he also does respond. The fuck is it? Nothing will ever be as fun as 80s videos, for real. This song is so addicting for some reason, for real though. For anyone seen this and noticed something off, they took out clips, the dancers in blackface. Is that real? Huh. That's not cool. Jesus. Ah, here it is. Whenever I'm running out of good horror movies to watch, I just watch this. And bro, like, replied, literally goes, scares the fuck out of me too. Lamau, the creator is scared of his own creation. That is a masterpiece. You know it's good when the dude himself is like, I'm even weirded out by what the fuck I made. And dude, okay, so now here I'm gonna go on a rant even more. This was like I heard the song before. I knew it existed. I watched Young Frankenstein. I know about that, and then I've also came across my TikTok feed. I don't think I'll ever be able to find it again, but it came across my For You page on TikTok. Someone was doing a Sonic animation. I don't know how that popped up on my For You page, but someone was doing a Sonic animatic using this song. And then a lot recently, I follow someone I follow on Instagram had put the song over their post, because you can add music to your Instagram posts, and I was like, oh yeah, this song. And then I was like, I'm gonna listen to this song and watch the music video, because why not? And then I was like, oh, best decision of my life. And let's just say, after the couple of times I've watched the music video on repeat, the urge to make a character based off of this was insanely strong. Insanely strong. And I ended up creating a character. Now, I actually, just so like I have this kind of info on my stuff, I sent it. Oh shit, hold on. I apparently have to sign into my other thing, and you guys aren't seeing that. Whoa, if I could spell my thing correctly, that would be great. Oh shit. Okay, there we go. Alright. Alright, there we go. Back to the screen, and here we go. Why are these all out of order? That sucks. Alright. I made these on Picrew, alright? I made these images on Picrew just because I like using Picrew to just give me kind of like this prototype design of a character. This one is the Potato Lord Picrew. Probably my favorite Picrew to use. So yeah, I made him in the Picrew. So that's the character, what he looks like. And then I have all the information we have. The name is Zabavu Vermac. Both mean entertainment in their respective languages. At least I think so. I use Google Translate, so he is the god of entertainment, alright? He is a god immortal, he's gender fluid because he's a god. He doesn't really, technically they don't have gender, so, but his body is male presenting, and he's pansexual because again, he's a god. I mean, they don't have genders, they don't care about sexuality, stuff like that. I describe him, like, his personality as chaotic neutral, yet appears calm and composed, presents himself nicely. And I said deal because, you know, that's just his character, what happens with him. He calls himself Zed in front of the humans, which is how people outside of America pronounce the Z. He lures people into his space/realm with the promise of good times and everlasting entertainment. I mean, who doesn't want that? He uses an abandoned building as like some sort of disguise, you know, to not make it seem suspicious, and the inside much bigger, like the TARDIS, and it looks kind of like a casino, like a really fancy casino. Any form of entertainment can be found inside, and he's like a lesser god, so his power doesn't work the way other gods' powers work. So he feeds off the emotions people feel when they are entertained. And that's how he gets his powers. Once the people are in his casino, they can't leave. They just can't. They're forced to stay being entertained until their untimely demise. And then, if he doesn't feed off of people, his emotions from entertainment, then he's just a regular fucking dude who's just lives forever. But as long as, you know, there's entertainment around and he's there, he has some form of power. And I put like his most powerful times being ancient Greece, Roman Empire, the Renaissance, the Roaring Twenties / Prohibition, the 80s, and the 2010s until now. I think the 2010s until now are like his extremely most powerful time. He has never been as powerful as he is until the 2010s through now, thanks to the internet. Least powerful times were the Dark Ages, obviously, and then, you know, I put what he was inspired by, and I ended up basically creating an entire fucking story with this character. And so here's the other character. His name is David. I also made in Picrew. We have his info here. His name is David Clark, and he works as a detective. He's 29, and he is closeted / denial about his sexuality, which is he's gay. He likes men. And of course, for the time period he's in, the 1930s, that stuff isn't allowed and very much looked down upon. So he's very in denial about it and not happy. He's not happy. He's a serious and intelligent person, the lawful good kind of guy. He's a detective, and in the time of the story, he's Okay, there we go. Sorry about that. I forgot. I don't know where I left off. I was rambling so much that I couldn't hear myself talking in my ear. Just gotta see if this is working. I apologize, everybody. It does that sometimes, apparently, and this is why I have an earbud in my ear and the thing pulled up on an iPad. Anyway, the information I'll probably have, what I said before I realized my thing wasn't working, I'll probably have to pull from the camera recording audio. Yay. Anyway, he's under the illusion, and he starts having doubts. And, of course, once you have his doubts, and he breaks free from that illusion. He soon... sorry, I'm reading. He soon starts to realize something's off and not right. And that doubt, again, breaks him free from the illusion he was under. And the thing about David is his father raised him with the mentality that you have to work hard and, you have to be serious, work hard, don't put emotions into stuff, and you'll be successful and happy. And he grew up with that mentality, unfortunately. And so that's something he takes with him all the time, and he never lets himself have any fun or do anything that genuinely does make him happy. And he starts to realize and notice that the missing people from the missing reports are the people in Zed's casino. And while he investigates and is on the lookout for the truth, David starts to realize he is getting so much more than he bargained for. And then the next one is her. The hair is different. Like I said, this is a prototype. And the hair that I wanted for her, I couldn't find particularly on this Picrew. So that's her, and here she is. Her name is Sarah Wilson. She's 22. She's almost a decade younger than David. She's straight, and she's a good and caring person, although she can be oblivious at times. She grew up on the streets, so she never had any kind of fun, any kind of luxuries. Zed ended up luring her a few months before David shows up and gets lured in. David and Sarah know each other because she had past run-ins with the law. Although for nothing bad, just, she would steal necessities and get in trouble for that, or, get into a fight with somebody. David ends up getting her out of the trance as well, and they start to work together. Although David could have wished for someone better to work with. But she's good with puzzles, she's nimble, she can pickpocket. She's also good at using herself for distractions. And I might change this, but it says in the thing that Sarah kind of falls for David when they work together, but she doesn't know that he's a closeted gay. Like I said, I might actually change that. And then we have this guy. I don't have anything written down, but I do know it off the top of my head, thankfully. Again, Potato Lord Picrew. I did edit this, though, a little bit. The original image is different, but I did edit it to make him look like his skin was white as fuck. And to give him, blue lips and eyeshadow and stuff like that. and to change his bow tie from a darker blue to a lighter one. But bro is inspired by this guy from the music video. So there's two characters that were specifically inspired by this music video itself. And this guy, his name is Frosty. Technically, he doesn't have a name, and David started calling him Frosty, and Sarah picked up on it as well and started calling him Frosty too, so it just stuck. Frosty here, and yes, Frosty is a reference to the D&D campaign. I forgot the name. I only see clips of it. I don't actually watch it, but they're funny as fuck clips. But he sorry. He I hate my cat's meowing outside my door. Anyway, so for context, Zed created a bunch of beings to work in this, like, quote-unquote casino. And one of these beings are the helpers, the assistants. Their job is to basically help and assist anyone with any inquiries that they might have. And, the beings are created similarly, like, all of the helpers and assistants look very similar to Frosty. All the cooks look very similar to other cooks. That kind of thing. It was just as, like, a way for Zed to be like, hey, here's an easy way to tell the difference of the staff, you know? And Frosty ends up being the one helper that David and Sarah go to, and they all team up, and his job is to help with their inquiries no matter what, so he just tags along to help and give them whatever they need. So they become like a trio of sorts. I'm pulling up something else real quick. I actually started writing. Hold on. And I actually started writing this story and still working on it. It's still very early development. I actually just started writing. I haven't gone through and done any editing or anything like that to make it a lot better. So yeah, chapter 1, I obviously named it. After that, it's also, like, it's not just the name of the song, it's also terminology, kind of like slang. And I basically kind of put my own thing. Obviously I can't copy and paste what happens in here, but that's basically, this entire chapter is inspired by the music video itself. For $3,000. $3,000 in the 1930s is the equivalent to $55,000 in today's money. So, like, a lot of research has gone into writing this. So, yeah, that was a long-ass rant. Ooh, boy. Long rant. I apologize. But, yeah, that's, that's... So, yeah, I'm excited about that, and I'm very... I'm genuinely just obsessed at the moment with it. So. Yep. I am going going to end the stream, and I thank you guys so much for watching and putting up with my rant. Thank you everybody so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. Please do consider subscribing for more, and I hope you have a great day. Thank you.